are two budding, energetic people trying to be elected on the next occasions. Jackie Fennan for Fianna Fáil in Tipperary area, and David Shanahan, Clonmel. Is that right, David?
That's right, yeah.
I got it right anyway. Now, I also want to say a special welcome to John Hassett, who's here with us today, and we're delighted, John, that you're able to come, and thanks to the person bring you to those things. John was part and parcel of everything we do and everything we're trying to do for his years, 30, 40 years. So, John, it's great to see you here, and we appreciate you attending. I also want to thank the Tommy Halligan branch of the ONE. They're here today to lead the parade. Pity we hadn't more, but at least they come and they do it, and that's it. Now, the next thing I want to call is John Connors. John Connors, he recently launched a book here in Tipperary town last Monday or Tuesday night, Tuesday I think, and it was a huge crowd ahead. It is a book related to Sean Hogan. Sean Hogan, and yeah, I think there was a life of tragedy, or life of, and I think it was very important that John thought of writing, because Sean Hogan seems to be a little bit forgotten, you know, and John Connors did a huge job in the book, and the book is well worth for anybody to buy it. It's only €15, and it should be in any house, because it showed the other side of all the people that, you know, they were all out, all the volunteers out fight, but it showed what can happen too when it wanes off. So John, I'll ask you now, and the one thing, John, if you try and keep talking straight into that, because it doesn't pick up that well if you move any bit at all. Is it low enough for you or high enough for you? Probably back here.
Yeah. I thought Michael was going to ask me not to talk for too long.
I told you last Tuesday night.
In preparation for this, I done 2 scripts. I did one for a wet day and one for a fine day. The one for a wet day only goes on for about 20 minutes, but I'll pare this back to about 3/4 of an hour. So, in the 1911 census, a woman by the name of Mary Ann Crummy is registered in the workhouse in Nenagh. And Mary Ann Crummy is an unmarried mother, and with her are 2 children, her daughter Kate and her son Thomas. On the 28th of October 1920, Denny Lacey's flying column ambushed a patrol of military coming from the military barracks in Templemore at Thomastown, and they inflict 3 casualties on Crown forces. So when we read the reports in the various books and biographies that are written, we see that 3 casualties were inflicted on the enemy at Thomastown on the 28th of October of 1920. One of them was a Lance Corporal, William Hobbs. Another was a Private Frederick Short, and the 3rd man was a Private Thomas Crummy. Private Thomas Crummy is buried here with the British soldiers back behind us here in this cemetery. So on that particular day, the 28th of October of 1920, Thomas Crummy fulfilled the role of enemy on that particular day. So that's one grave here in this cemetery. So if we look just down the path there, we have the politician P.J. Maloney, TD of the First Dáil. A little bit down to my left there, we have the Butler sisters of Tincorry, Christina and Alice, prominent members of Cumann in the troubled times. Further over, we have Michael Callahan of 1916 fame. Down underneath us, we have the grave of Sean Hogan, commandant of No. 2 Flying Column of the 3rd Tipperary Brigade. Back towards the back of the cemetery, we have a headstone marking the burial place of one of the first casualties of the War of Independence, Constable James MacDonald. Also here we have the graves of countless people who fed and sheltered the combatants of that time. And I'm sure as well we have the graves here of many people who viewed the volunteers with an eye of disapproval, and who certainly, being in a garrison town, would not be supportive of the cause of the volunteers. So in all of that, I have this to say: is welcome to the Republic that is St. Michael's Cemetery, Tipperary town. A broad cabinet of backgrounds, philosophies and people. And as I stand here in the Republican plot, welcome to the Republican plot within that greater Republic. So today, and not for the first time in its history, I say this, that Europe stands at a crossroads. Extreme elements have come to rise right across the continent that are reminiscent of Europe between the two wars. And to the east, Putin's Russia ever offer constant threat of expansionism, especially against the three republics on its western borders. And across the Irish Sea, where the sun has a long time ago set on the empire and apparently left it in darkness, a collective lunacy fueled by the fear factor and relentlessly promoted by the tabloid media and irresponsible journalism has taken a firm grip. And in Northern Ireland, a party that contains the word democratic in its name refuses to be democratic and instead panders to its own extremists. A look across the political situation in America begs the old Irish observation: the less said the better. In today's modern world, what passes as leadership? Leadership based on ideology alone will guarantee that there is no moving forward. But ideology coupled with purpose and cause will move us beyond the confines of our self-imposed limitations. We saw this vividly in the brokering of the Good Friday Agreement, when not only politicians, but politicians who were also prepared to be statesmen stepped forward. And in this I would like to mention our own Tipperary man, Dr. Martin Manser, who made a huge effort in that cause that brought peace to our island. But history always begs one question: what if? And as I stand here, and those who are buried here in the Republican plot, had these men who are buried here in this Republican plot, had they lived, come the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War, if any of them had participated, what side would they have taken? Would committed Catholics have fought against the Republic, or committed Republicans fight against the forces allied with Mother Church? Would any have sided with Basque or Catalan separatists when the division of Ireland was repulsive to everything they believed in and fought for? Certainly, those questions would have proved vexing ones for many, but eventually an answer would be found. Ideology that does not come wrapped in a straitjacket makes way for the noble trade of politics, as plied by men and women whose concern is for the betterment of society. This is what guarantees an eventual solution to every problem and to every dilemma. One of the first in the field of finding of such solutions was one Dan Breen. Not when he was the first Republican to cross the floor of Dáil Éireann, but long before that. It began when he returned from America in 1922. Breen did not set about rising battalions or columns to fight the treaty. Rather, he set about brokering peace. And when conflict finally did erupt, and the dead were finally counted, Dan Breen was foremost in attempting to heal the rift. An example I give is that of a relative of my own, a private in the Free State Army, who was badly wounded in the incident at Castleblaic. Unable to secure any meaningful compensation from the Free State government, the man turned to Dan Breen for help. Breen wrote a personal letter to Garrod Hegarty of the Pensions Board, and that letter concluded: "I was on the opposite side to this man, but in the old days he was one of the best. He has been treated shamefully by your board." Another incident was that of John Joe O'Brien, foremost among the Knocklong rescuers. When a change of regime came in 1932, with the advent of De Valera to power, a sergeant came to Galbally who proved less lenient in relation to public house trading hours as operated by O'Brien than was the man he replaced. Intervening on his old friend's behalf, Breen was reputed to have reproached De Valera, and he was supposed to have said to him, "There's an old friend of mine with the pub below in Galbally. The sergeant there has been a bit awkward with him. Will you look after that, or do you want me to sort it out?" On a more serious note, it was Breen who signed the bills of safe passage for O'Brien and 5 of his fellow Free State Army officers that guaranteed their release from Victoria Barracks in Cork when a threat of execution hung over them in the course of the Civil War. It was countless incidents of this nature where genuine friendship and human decency transcended all divisions and all ideology. Those incidents, mostly never documented and now well forgotten, that met Breen and many like him, who through good fortune and fate do not lie buried here, that makes them the true Republicans, as much as did the Salahead Beg, Knocklong, Ashtown and Fernside incidents. There was a place for everyone in the country of his vision. The thankfully misnamed bitter Civil War finally petered out. Republicans, for the most part, opted for pragmatism, and in 1932 the reins of power were handed over peacefully. Such did not happen without reason. Nor was it without reason that W.T. Cosgrave and Dan Breen held a deep friendship, and not without reason that it was he, Breen, who was the first Republican to cross the floor of the Dáil in 1927, even though the immediate consequences of doing so was to lose his seat in the subsequent general election. All his life my own grandfather would ruefully declare, it was a poor Tipperary that turned his back on Dan Breen and come on a few years after and shove in that Colonel Jerry. So today, what does all this mean to us that are gathered here? We can certainly draw inspiration from those who lie here, their lives and legacies, their character and personalities. Their fidelity to the solemn oath they had taken to defend the Republic is something to evoke admiration and inspiration. So too their dedication to the cause in which they believe so passionately, and their preparedness to make the sacrifice here, the ultimate sacrifice, in pursuit of that cause. Qualities that are needed as much, if not more so now, than ever before. Ireland has made much progress since the days of flying columns and safe houses. Sadly today, for more than 1,800 people each day, Brother Kevin Crowley's Church Street project in Dublin is their safe house. In this area, Tipperary, where we are right now, in reprisal for the Lisnagal ambush of November 1920, 14 properties were razed to the ground at the pleasure of a foreign monarch, leaving their occupants homeless. I ask, at whose pleasure are an inordinate number of individuals and family becoming homeless today? In March of 1921, when the Hones, Sean Quinn and Pat Walsh of Downamagan lay dying on the back of a lorry while the Black and Tans went drinking in Butler's pub in Tubred. Had Quinn been given medical attention, there is every indication that he would have survived. Was it that those Black and Tans were cold-hearted and didn't care, or had their experience in the First World War cheapened the value of human life to such a degree that as a currency it had become to them worthless? What reason can we attach today to people left lying in hospital corridors and hospital trolleys, sometimes with fatal consequences? We owe those who lie here in this Republican plot a resolution to these problems in order that we may proudly carry with us the title Republican. Politics and politicians will hopefully, with a degree of urgency, apply themselves to finding answers to those problems. And to you politicians who are here, those of the present, and I look around, I can see some of the future, I say this: do not stand behind the system, but stand beside the citizen, just like those who we honour here today done in darker days. Thank you.
Thanks, John, for that excellent oration. It's better you're getting. I didn't hear you for that couple of years, but you're improving all the time.
And short one as well.
Now, I think there's someone here who wants to sing a song as Kevin O'Reilly, or a poem. Which will you do?
I'm certainly not singing a song.
Well, it would be a good way to clear them away, wouldn't it, maybe?